Hello, everyone. How are we? Hopefully, all of you is having a fantastic day wherever we are around the world. And welcome back to the Club Council. Hopefully, all of you are good. Hopefully, everyone's having a good evening. And welcome back to a Liverpool transfer news show for you guys this evening, where we are going to discuss Alexander Isak yet again, the big topic for Liverpool Football Club at the moment, and probably the only topic in terms of incomings at the moment that everyone is talking about. And of course, we'll dive into all of the news a bit later on. Of course, I want to get your guys' thoughts. Of course, there's rumours around him agreeing personal terms with Liverpool. There's other bits and pieces flying around as well. Also, there's rumours going around that he's training alone in Spain, which we will get onto in due course anyway. But let me know how all of you are down in the comments. If you're new around here, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, all of that good stuff as usual. But again, I want to quickly, before we do discuss Alexander Isak, I do want to discuss Luis Diaz and, of course, the move to Bayern Munich. It did get confirmed this morning before Liverpool's game against we just did the review on Icon. Yakoma, sorry. It got announced probably like an hour and a half before the game, but of course this is on Bayern Munich's official website, as you guys can see. But there, obviously Luis Diaz in a Bayern Munich shirt, and it does go on to say that FC Bayern sign Luis Diaz. It does go on to say, as you guys can hopefully see on screen, that FC Bayern have signed Colombia international Luis Diaz from the Premier League champions Liverpool. The forward has been handed a contract in Munich until June 2029, obviously the 30th of June 2029, and will wear the number 14 shirt for the German champions. It does go on to say that Bayern's CEO have come out and said that in Luis Diaz, we have succeeded in bringing in one of the best left wingers in the Premier League. He brings a real player character from Liverpool to FC Bayern. He's won silverware with everyone of his club to date. As a team, we were able to work together and realize this transfer is a target manner. We are delighted to have a top international who will give our team importance and also enrich the Bundesliga. We would like to thank Liverpool for what were fair and serious negotiations at all times. And of course, you guys can go on and read and go on as well. And I know a couple of people when we did the Luis Diaz, obviously to Bayern Munich show. Of course, a lot of people I think answered the question of how would you rate Luis Diaz's career at Liverpool, and I think. For me personally, I think it's very high on the list, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think that, of course, his first 6 months at the football club, I think everybody can agree that was electric. You know, I think that was one of the best impacts the signings had probably in Premier League history, I would go on to say. But the one thing I would turn around and say is, of course, with that injury that he did suffer against Arsenal, that kept him out for nearly a year. Again, he never looked the same player. But I think over the last 18 months, I think Luis Diaz has really developed yet again. And look, for me personally, I think he leaves as a Premier League champion, but also I think leaves with everybody saying that, look, Luis Diaz, if it wasn't for the money side of things, which I think Liverpool would have liked to have kept hold of him, I think, look, it's a good deal for what it is. Again, £65 million for a player that's got 2 years left of his contract. And I think Liverpool themselves will go in and go, look, it was the right time to sell Lucho. But look, for me personally, I wish him all the best at Bayern Munich. I think he'll be an absolute sensation in the Bundesliga. Hope we don't play Bayern Munich this season, which we're most likely going to now. But still, like, look, I wish Lucho the best, unless it's against Liverpool Football Club. But look, let me know your guys' thoughts on the Lucho deal. Again, out of 10 for the people in the chat, out of 10, how would you rate his Liverpool career, or how would you rate it? I'd probably go with a 7. I think it was a pretty decent career. But again, yeah, the song as well. Yeah, obviously big up QT, saying Connor will miss his song as well. Yeah, we're gonna lose some belters this season. Of course, obviously Chiesa going, Lucho going as well. So yeah, one of the best Liverpool songs of all time as well. So like I'm gonna miss Lucho, and hopefully um, hopefully we don't get to play against him very, very soon. Anyway, that's what I would say. But to be fair, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But QT says, smash the likes and subs on your way in, guys. Yeah, very much appreciated. As always, I think we are a couple away now from, what are we on, like 4? Hang on a minute. I'm going to check this because I haven't checked in a while. What are we on? We're on nearly 4.2k. So again, if we can get there, very much appreciated as always. But best of luck to Diaz. And unlike the rat, he funded Isak as well. True. Very, very true. Ollie says, I think we got the best of Lucho. Not bad money for him, considering his age as well. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, look, Lewis, I think when you look at left wing players in general, the market is very meh right now. Like I think Liverpool had, or did had the two best in Europe in terms of, again, I know Vinny Jr. and Mbappe, like look, they are probably the best. But I think when we talk about players for a team, and when we talk about certain players that can get better as well, like for example, like Liverpool looking at the market now, there probably isn't a better left winger than Luis Diaz. But what I mean by that, again, for option wise, Lucho and Cody, I think are one of the up there with some of the best. But yeah, I think Lucho, look, he will be missed. He will absolutely. But again, it was the right time, and he made that clear towards the football club. 7.5 for QT, 7.5 for Scouser as well. If we can have halves, yeah, you can have halves as you want to. Good luck to him as well as Ollie. But only the injury, it would have been higher. He cooked when he first came in as well. Yeah, he did. Like, look, I think we would have seen a better player if that injury didn't happen. I do. I really do. I think the injury took a massive impact for him to recover from. Look, because he had nearly a year out of football. He then came back, didn't really look like Luis Diaz, did he? Even Jurgen's last season, there was times where he had that flair and he was back to his best, but he was never really the Lucho Diaz we saw of 21-22. But I think certainly over the last season, I think Arne Slot added an extra element to his game. But for me, I think that, again, he was a huge part of the title-winning season last year. But I think last season he sacrificed quite a lot because he wasn't on the left. He was playing down the middle because, again, Jota was injured. Obviously, he didn't trust Darwin Núñez, so Lucho had to play as the false nine. And yeah, realistically, was a huge part of Liverpool winning a Premier League title. But yeah, we'll never forget that. QT says, I was watching Copa America and was saying, who is this guy? We ended up getting him as well. Yeah. Well, I remember Porto playing against Man City and Lucho scored an absolute belter goal. And then we ended up signing him. But sorry for the caps as well, no worries. Just a pity he didn't score more. Yeah, like I think that's the one criticism, isn't it, of Lucho is, look, the finishing could have been a bit better, but I think as an overall package, Lucho was a very, very good player for Liverpool. And again, look, maybe he might return one day, not as a player, but maybe he might return back to Liverpool one day. But look, his song, like I said, will always go down in history. And again, we can't sing it anymore, which is mental. Of course, we will sing it now and again, but not at games, probably. But look, we'll move on then. And we'll discuss Alexander Isak then, because we have some news tonight surrounding Mr. Alexander Isak. Now, let me quickly get this up for you guys. So, according to Florian Blindenberg, which again, do take it with a pinch of salt, he has come out and said this. This was earlier on today. So, That's me. There we go. That's the big screen. He did come out and say that understand that Alexander Isak has already reached a verbal agreement in principle with Liverpool over a contract running until 2031. Isak wants to make the move to Liverpool as early as this transfer window. The clubs are in contact. His salary at Liverpool would be similar to that of Hugo Ekitike's. Newcastle is still pushing hard to sign Benjamin Sesko, but Manchester United are also in the race. So that, for me, right now, this is what it's coming down to. Is simply, again, we know, for example, that Alexander Isak has agreed terms with Liverpool. That's not new news, and it's not. Like, look, sorry for the clickbait, but it's not new news. It's not. Like, at the end of the day, Liverpool and Alexander Isak have been in conversations for a very, very long time. It's not just a new thing, for example. And I think, look, at the present moment in time, Liverpool are just waiting to submit that bid, and I think everybody understands that now at this point in time, that Liverpool want to submit the bid, but of course Newcastle at the moment are up in the air trying to find a replacement for Alexander Isak. Of course, they're trying heaven and earth at the minute to try and get Benjamin Sesko. But again, I will quickly get something up in a moment about Benjamin Sesko and Newcastle. But of course, that's up in the air at the moment because, again, you've got Manchester United currently in the mix in all of this. And look, of course, United want to United want to get Sesko. Sesko's reportedly been a target for some time. Of course, there was reports yesterday suggesting that Manchester United wanted Ollie Watkins and Benjamin Sesko was another option for him. But I think even David Ornstein came out and said that Benjamin Sesko is the target for Manchester United as well. So with that being said, it looks like it is going to be a straight up fight between Newcastle and Manchester United for Benjamin Sesko. And at the minute, again, you have reporters like Craig Hope coming out and saying that Manchester United seem the favourites at the moment. And I even tweeted out earlier on that can Newcastle get anyone over the line? Because if they don't get Sesko, that's then Ekitike, João Pedro, Benjamin Sesko, Imbuemo, Cunha. There's probably even more that I'm not even naming or thinking of. Barella, technically, that didn't go to Newcastle a year ago. Gay as well. So there's plenty out there that are not getting signed by Newcastle. Why? Why is that? And I think the big thing, and it does tie into Alexander Isak a little bit, is at the minute, there's no ambition there with Newcastle. Look, don't get me wrong, they're trying to get things signed, and obviously they've tried to they've got Aaron Ramsdale in, and of course that's one signing to improve their squad, and he is an improvement on Nick Pope, in my opinion. But I look at it and go, look, there's been conversations that Alexander Isak told Newcastle hierarchies that last season was his last season at Newcastle. There's been talks about that he told Newcastle at the start of last season that this will be my last, and if that is true, then Newcastle have had plenty of warning about this as well. But I think what is interesting is the fact that they just can't get anyone over the line at the moment, and I think that it has to come down to Eddie Howe. Because, again, I don't listen to TalkSport. I never listen to it, really. But I saw a clip earlier on of, I think it was Simon Jordan talking with Craig Hope about the situation at the minute with, with Newcastle and around what's going on there. And I think what was very interesting was, I think, that the sense of Eddie Howe didn't like Paul Mitchell? Paul Mitchell, I think it was, the sporting director, didn't like him or didn't like the way he worked. So he didn't want him there. He wanted to replace him. Eddie Howe's now had this. He's had his wish. Eddie Howe is now I don't know whether or not if he's in charge of everything in terms of the transfer negotiations or transfer hierarchy in terms of what, who and what Newcastle go for. But at the minute, if you're a player like Alexander Isak, and you want the club to show a bit of ambition. They're not doing that, because they're getting rejected by everyone. And at the moment, it's not great, realistically, is it? But I will quickly get something up from Craig Hope. Obviously, it is taken from Anfield sector, so big up to them guys as well. But this was the one for me earlier on as well that was very, very interesting. Now, it does go on to say, so you guys can see, but there, it says, obviously, this is from Craig Hope. It says, all my information is that an offer for Alexander Isak from Liverpool is due. I think this could be movement on that this week. So, again, very, very interesting. And it wasn't just only that as well. Again, there was more in that piece from Craig Hope. As he does go on to say, I will paraphrase it for you guys. He does go on to say, if Newcastle can't get Benjamin Sesko or another big ticket number 9, then they won't sell Alexander Isak, which again, I don't think that's new in terms of, I think everybody has said it. Look, Newcastle will get the replacement in first and then sell Alexander Isak. But again, they supposedly have contacted Newcastle about Muñoz. Again, there's reports as well that they're looking at Nicholas Jackson. Whether or not they do end up getting those is another thing, entirely. As again, this is taken from Craig Hope again, as it has gone to say. But if Newcastle miss out on Sesko, an alternative will have to be identified before the end, but before an exit for Alexander Isak would be considered. Deals are active for both Sesko and Brentford's obviously Wissa, and Fulham's Rodrigo Muñoz has been added to the shortlist in recent days. Aston Villa's Ollie Watkins is another option, especially if Sesko chooses Manchester United. So again, even with that, like, I would turn around and say, obviously, the Muñoz one, I was a bit shocked by that. I'm not going to lie. Again, Fulham asking £40 million. But Ollie Watkins, could Ollie Watkins be the Isak replacement, or be, part of the Isak replacement? Could very well be, for sure. But I think it is interesting with Newcastle, when they talk about a big ticket number 9, there isn't many out there now. Let's be perfectly honest. I think their idea was to replace Alexander Isak with Hugo Ekitike. Of course, they took too long around that. And I think Melissa Reddy earlier on reported that in an ideal world, Liverpool's ideal summer was to have them two together. It was to have Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak together. So with that being said, Liverpool could end up having their wish in having both having Alexander Isak and Hugo Ekitike as well. And look, they've already got one done. It could be another one coming very, very soon as well. But let me know your guys' thoughts as well down in the comments. But QT says, I think Salah changed how we see wingers. Wingers never really scored. He's completely changed the way wingers work. Why would Newcastle not sell? He's burnt his bridges now. That's the thing. And look, I think either way, Alexander Isak will be a Liverpool player this summer. I'm putting my neck on the line, really. But I would personally say that it is very, very likely that Alexander Isak does become a Liverpool player. Now, I know Geordies don't want to listen to that. I know, again, I've had conversations with a few Geordies, and they're fuming about it because, again, they accuse Liverpool of tapping up the player, even though they tapped up Anthony Elanga for weeks. But, again, we won't discuss that. But no, but all seriousness, if those rumours are true, or those reports are true about Isak told Newcastle in advance at the start of last season that this summer was that season was his last season for Newcastle, and he wanted to experience or go and explore a move, then in my honest opinion, look, he's made perfect sense for that to happen. But yeah, look, I think. For me personally, I think it's an 80% chance Alexander Isak signs for Liverpool this season, for sure, this summer, I should say. And Tanzia, and yeah, Cal, 100%, that is true. Certainly not Messi scored from here. But to be fair, he did play false 9 quite a lot. But yeah, I personally look at it and go, Messi, you could play Messi as a six and he'd still score and he'd still be brilliant. Like, let's be honest, Messi's the GOAT. The only real answer for a GOAT. Anyway, but Jason saying it's a good biz though. I don't know what that means. Here's the thing: a player can't agree a contract, as reported, unless the club knowing he'll be a Liverpool player. That's the thing. Like, I think Liverpool. The thing is, Liverpool, judging by the reports, we are not going to go in with, like, let's say a cheap, like, £90 million bid. Like, Liverpool not going to do that. Like, Liverpool have already delegated with Newcastle on what needs to happen, and I think obviously a great report obviously into Sky Sports is to be fair, I will double check who that is. I think is it Keith Downing? No, apologies, chat. Yeah, Keith Downey. I was right. So his report earlier on Sky Sports was this. So again, he's pretty decent with news up in the north. But he did come out and say this, that I fully expect if Liverpool come to the table with a big offer, the deal for Isak to Liverpool will get done. I think that they'll end up doing a deal at around £135 million or something like that. So again, when Newcastle fans say like, oh, it's 150, minimum for it, there's no chance. And again, some Geordies that I've done videos with, I've come out and said that, look, 200 million for Alexander Isak, you're not getting 200 million for Alexander Isak. Like, you're living on cloud 9 if you think you're getting 200 million for Alexander Isak. Look, yes, he does have 3 years left of his contract, but even still, like, for a 25-year-old going on 26, that, of course, for them, Isak's worth 300, 400, 500 million, easy. But in an ideal world, Isak is worth around 130 million pounds, and he is. But I think Liverpool already know this in terms of, again, there's not going to be any low balling in terms of, we're going to turn around and go like, oh, we'll bid 90 million and see what happens, for example. Like, no, Liverpool will bid like 130, 135 million up front straight away. There will be no question marks around it. And I think at that stage, I think Liverpool will get a deal done. I think Newcastle feel that as well, because if Liverpool put the money down on the table and go, right, there's 130 million pounds, Newcastle are not going to turn that down. Especially when you're already struggling to to get players over the line with certain money. Again, that's all we've heard from Fabrizio Romano, is that Newcastle are prepared to throw everything at Benjamin Sesko. And even though at the moment there's no decision yet on Benjamin Sesko, I still look at it and go, for them to do that, that is their replacement for Alexander Isak. It is simple as. I think Eddie Howe now as well, just judging by his language that's come out obviously from post matches and so on, with obviously Newcastle out in Asia. I think personally it's that sense of they want the money, they want to reinvest and go again, really, because again, let's think, Newcastle, it's not like the fact they've not got anything to play for. They've got Champions League to think about. Like, they could get embarrassed at some point if certain injuries happen. I know Joe Willock got injured earlier on. I don't know if it was a broken ankle or a sprained ankle, but either way, like, again, they've got, their squad is big, considering the fact they're going to play European football this season as well. So, look, let me know your guys' thoughts as well down below. But Trafford as well, yeah, true, I forgot about him. Sunderland, a bigger club as well. Hey, don't tell certain Geordies that. Newcastle fans think they are a big club. Big club is said too loosely, for my opinion. Yeah, like, Newcastle are. They're a top club. They're not a huge club. They're not like an elite club, I'm gonna say. But they are a top club for sure. But yeah, in terms of big mega club, no, I would agree they're not. But Newcastle wanted to buy some players first to know where they stand within the PSR, because players and price tend to vary when buying, hence waiting before letting Isak go for a reasonable price. Yeah, exactly, Jason. And I think, like, Liverpool, That's the thing with Liverpool not bidding yet, because if Liverpool bid now, then it puts the pressure on Newcastle, because if they do reject, let's say it is 135 million pounds, that then puts the impression on Liverpool that, look, Liverpool may go higher, but let's say Liverpool start at 135 and then end up going to 150, for example, and Newcastle keep rejecting it. Like, what do Liverpool do then? Or there's nothing Liverpool can do in that sense. It's just them, then Newcastle just playing around. Of course, if they bring in Sesko, bring in a replacement, then of course they'll be more willing to sell him, of course, as well. But Calvert-Lewin is more than happy to join them. Yeah, true, absolutely. They are messing. Don't know who to target, who to buy. They go player after player after none materialize. Yeah, exactly. That's true. Yeah, but certainly not Messi. Toon fan, I want him gone. I'll pick up Kenny as well. Toon fan, I want him gone. Believe me, but unless we get two decent strikers, he isn't going anyway, and that's fair enough. Like, I think, look, I think, if I'm being honest, I think Newcastle will end up getting Muñoz, and I think they'll end up getting Wisa. And that's going to be their options. I personally think Sesko is going to go to United. Because again, I don't know what United are offering them, but somehow or some reason, United are pulling off a madness in terms of getting Cunha and Buemo and then Sesko. But again, I hope he goes to. I hope personally he goes to Newcastle, because then he becomes a Liverpool player. But what else we have? You always missing the point. I don't know what that's about. Plus Messi was a 10 as well. Yeah, that's true. To be fair, Messi can play everywhere. And like, it's Messi's the GOAT anyway. Best player of all time. Newcastle are the biggest club in Newcastle. Yeah, 100%. We should get a Rojo from Benfica. Is that the centre half? Cal. Again, I don't know too much about him. If I'm a Newcastle fan, I'm fuming. Clear lack of direction in the transfer market. I don't think it's a lack of, like, again, I don't think it's a lack of ambition, but I do think it's complacent, because and look, I've seen Newcastle fans come out and say this, that to keep Isak, you have to offer him big contract, because he's a top player now. Like, he's not. It's not like if Isak's a crap player, for example. I think Isak probably has demanded Newcastle to be a bit more, pushy in terms of things. But I don't know whether or not, Kenny, if you are a Geordie as well, let us know in the comments. But I think behind the scenes, and again, I know a lot of people haven't really questioned the ownership, really, but they've promised a dynasty at Newcastle, and they have. But we said at the time, like, what was it, like 2 weeks ago, that Newcastle should accept Liverpool's bid. Let's say it is 140 mil, should accept that and then rebuild the team. They're going on about PSR all the time, and they're going, oh, that's a building, that's a problem, and this and the other. Reinvest it. Liverpool did it. Liverpool bought Van Dijk and Alisson out of the Coutinho money. Even though, to be fair, the bank of Coutinho has thrived well over the last couple of weeks. But no, all joking aside, again, you could sell to reinvest. And yes, they wanted to buy Ekitike, but let's not lie about it. They turned around and, look, they tried to get Ekitike 3 times. Ekitike rejected them 3 times. But you look at the Trafford situation. Like, last summer, you had personal terms agreed. You had everything sorted. And all right, Man City supposedly had a clause with James Trafford, like, if Newcastle had a bid accepted, then City could come in and he can make up his own mind. That's supposedly what's happened. I don't know if that's true. But even still, with that being said, Newcastle should have had that Trafford deal done last summer, and it didn't get done. And that's the thing. That's the difference. Where, like, personally, I think that's a huge difference between Newcastle and other clubs. Where, again, they want a player, they go and get the player. And Newcastle messed about, really. And let's be perfectly honest, the last 2-3 windows for Newcastle have been terrible. They have been awful. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts anyway. Won't be surprised if Ramsdale is asked to play as a striker. Jesus Christ, Jason. Yeah, centre back as well. Kenny says, so it's all about money again. Another mercenary Sesko. Man United, Man U have nothing to offer him this season. No European football as well. Well, you'd think he'd go for that, didn't you? Like, you would think he would go for it. And that's the thing where Newcastle, they do have that to offer him, but if he's choosing to, go to United, it's mental. And as you rightfully say, it is probably all about money. Also, won't be surprised if Alan Shearer comes as a retirement help. At this point, it could work. It's when all the other players want bigger wages too. Well, I don't know whether or not if this is true, but there was a report that mentioned that Anthony Gordon's contract, like if somebody earns a certain amount, then Gordon's contract also has to go up. So if that's true, then yeah, no wonder it hasn't got done, really. But that's the thing. Newcastle can't afford to give Isak a £300,000 year contract and also do other things, really, because of PSR. And again, Isak's told him he's not signing a new contract. So with that being said, of course, you would think that, look, he's going to end up going as well. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts. Stop being silly, Jason. But Jack says, did Mitchell fall out with How Kenny? What was the story? Can't believe this club. Can't believe the club's not got a sporting director. I don't know who was it that was getting mentioned for a new sporting director. It was somebody joining Newcastle, but I don't know if he was from Man United or from Tottenham, an old person. But Jason says Newcastle fans comparing Isak's value to that of Coutinho, saying his value is way more. I've seen something. Was it Matthias Cunha's valuation? And it was like, oh, if Cunha's going for X amount, then he's actually going 3 times more, which works out around £180 million. Which, yeah, there's no way that happens. But QT says, run like a clown club. They think they are bigger than they are. If they be realistic, they'd be doing better as well. I think Newcastle, the thing is, I think the market, like, I think Anthony Elanga, I think he's the perfect player for them because that's the type of market they should be looking at. But I think when you're talking about, like, for example, like Ekitike, now, Ekitike is not going to pick Newcastle over Liverpool. He's not, and quite clearly, Ekitike has chosen 3 clubs now over Newcastle. He took PSG, he took Frankfurt, and he took Liverpool over Newcastle. In an ideal world, Ekitike is Alexander Isak's replacement, and look, they, and they move on. But in an ideal world, that's not going to happen. But even like the Ollie Watkins deal and the Muniz deal, I think those are deals that Newcastle can do. But I just don't think like even Sesko, for example. I think they could still get Sesko, but look at how much work that they're having to do for it. And realistically, you're going to try and convince a player that doesn't want to join. Because I'm sorry, like, again, if you are a Geordie out there and you're questioning about certain things, I wouldn't want personally a player, for example, now, if a player was umming and ahhing about joining Liverpool or not, like Zubimendi, for example, look at the player Zubimendi, I think would have been very, very good for us. But the fact that he started questioning about joining us and then didn't end up joining, again, get rid, like, no. Like, that's the thing with all the signings for Liverpool this season, is all of them, as soon as Liverpool came in, all of them wanted Liverpool, and they're the type of signings you want. You don't want a player coming in that's, questioning, oh, should I go here? Should I go there? Like, no, all of them, as soon as Liverpool put their interest in, was, I want Liverpool Football Club. And again, that's the one for me, that I want players like that at my football club. And if I was Newcastle, I'd be exactly the same as well. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But one thing I did want to quickly bring up as well, because I think this is very funny. Now, this is from Anfield Sector. Now, they have found a report from a Spanish newspaper, I think it's near Real Sociedad, that claims that Alexander Isak is training by himself. As you guys can see on screen right now, it does say, according to reports in Spain, Alexander Isak is in training with the personal trainer where Real Sociedad's training ground is, as he prepares to transfer to Liverpool. Now, we know for a fact he's not in Newcastle. We already knew this because, again, the reports claimed that he wasn't at Newcastle training. He was at home, allegedly, doing a training program. Now, if this is true, which, again, the newspaper, again, I had a quick look. Again, Anfield Sector couldn't confirm it. But again, in that region, them type of newspapers are true or are led to be true. Now, if that is the case, that he's in Sociedad and not in, not in Newcastle at all, then again, that's very, very shocking. To be fair, but look, I do think it's a very, very interesting point that maybe we are taking one more step closer to Alexander Isak becoming a Liverpool player. Sorry, Chad, I'm quickly reading about David Ornstein. Just reported RB Leipzig asking price for Benjamin Sesko, 75 million euros guaranteed plus add-ons and a percentage of future sale fee expectation communication to suitors for the 22-year-old. Man United pursuing but not agreement yet with RB. So again, so it's just David Ornstein putting the price out there for Benjamin Sesko. I thought that somebody had agreed a deal, which would have been quite funny then, to be fair. But look, I think it's all interesting, isn't it, at the moment? I'll see what will happen. Hang on a minute, chat. Is there anything else that's been reported right now? Because I think Romano's just done something as well regarding it. He's a doppelganger. Who's that, Jason? Ever seen a little girl trying to walk in? That's Newcastle. Always the bridesmaid. You could also follow. You could also follow Arsenal in that regard. Anyway, but look, that's just my opinion. But let me just quickly see if there is anything else. No, there isn't that much more on it, but yeah, I think the overall sense is, look, of course, we know the personal terms are agreed with Isak and Liverpool. We know for a fact that, look, he'll end up signing a 6-year contract. Again, I think that report earlier on, though, from Keith Downey suggesting there's £135 million deal getting done. Now, for him to come out and say that, the club, in my honest opinion, have come out and set a price tag, and this is obviously the report, but that for me is the big one tonight to take away from it, is that if, Sky Sports don't really get anything now, but again, these journos do get stuff because, again, they're in constant contact with the club. Now, for him to come out and say £135 million will get it done, I think you are looking at that, in my honest opinion. So £135 million for Alexander Isak, do we think that's a good deal? I do. I think it's an absolute steal. But look, again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But they think they are big, but everyone knows they're not. the signs are clear. Poster removed, kit launch also missing as well. Yep, true. Well, he wasn't in theirs, was they? Let's be honest. And of course, our kit launch is not tomorrow. It's on Friday. But again, hang on, I'll get this up on Twitter now. So if you guys haven't seen yet, I don't know who leaked it. I know one Liverpool player that did leak it, and that was Kostas Tsimikas. Kostas Tsimikas leaked a bunch of things earlier on, which I think the club will be, slapping him on the wrists a bit later on. But still, again, if we quickly bring that up for you guys, why is that showing? There we go. So we talk about the kit, of course. It did get released or did leak earlier on, as you guys can see by there. Of course, now the photo that I mentioned was a Ryan Gravenberch, thanks to Kostas Tsimikas. That got leaked a bit earlier on as well. So again, I think Liverpool will be hating that. But again, if you guys haven't seen it, again, that is the home and the away kit for next season. So things are beauties. I believe that both of them might be on sale on Friday. I don't know whether or not that's confirmed yet, but I think both will be on sale on Friday. Of course, if you're getting the home kit, if you're getting the away kit, let me know who you guys will get on the back. Look, I'm waiting for that third kit, but to be fair, I'm going to try and buy all three of these. I think all of the kits next season are beautiful. I really do. But long sleeves all day. To be fair, I haven't bought long sleeve kit in a while. But the home kit, I'm buying long sleeve with Mo Salah on the back. That's my prediction, or my going anyway. Jason said they need cash, so 110 up front plus 25 in add-ons. Jack says 100 million up front and the rest in add-ons, bargain as well. We got the likes of Torres, Suarez, etc. We were doing the thing because we are a big club, so United getting players decent doesn't shock me. Common sense as well. I would agree with that in some sense, but I'd also say that you look at Man United, you look at recent history. Newcastle, when we talk about European football, Newcastle have they have a bit more going for them than United as well. But obviously on history, obviously it's Manchester United. Great when our players are leaking the kit and media team won't be happy. No, they won't. Absolutely not. We all love the club we support. It's quite simple. Yeah, absolutely. The third kit, absolutely. So chat, short or long sleeve? Normally I'm short sleeve, but again, long sleeve, I'm definitely going to get on Friday. I always a fan of the long sleeve 0809. Again, quite similar to this season's kits as well. Con, you have Pickford arms. I don't have Pickford arms. I'm not dinosaur. You are a dinosaur, but that's something else entirely. Jesus Christ. But look, let me know your guys' thoughts anyway down in the comments on Isak, on Diaz as well, we mentioned a bit earlier on. And as well, let me know who you guys are going to get on the brand new kit. Of course, you guys haven't seen Kostas Tsimikas leaking everything as well. But again, let me know who you'll get on the back of your kits for next season. Like I said already, I'm going to get the long sleeve shirt with Mo Salah on the back, with, of course, the Premier League winners patch as well, which again should be great. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. Beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Imagine Isak announced on the official kit thing, it breaks the internet. I think just Isak signing in general would break the internet. I'm not going to lie, QT. It would be a pretty good day for Liverpool Football Club. But look, let me know your guys' thoughts anyway down in the comments down below. But I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. But until next time, that's going to be it from me. I've been Connor from the Cop Council. We'll see you guys a bit later on. Ta-ra.